From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, welcoming you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, pick up a book at We Read the Night, and don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. It's just $5 a month. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. Two of the top writers in the field of ufology are here tonight to break down what the heck is going on in the UFO world when it comes to the government, the military, the To the Stars Academy, and everybody who's seen some strange lights in the sky. From Vice and Popular Mechanics are Tim McMillan and MJ Banias. Tonight we're going to go down the inside path as to the direction of the narrative many call disclosure. Is it good for the UFO crowd? Is it good for the mainstream? What about the media? How about the technology? What about the experiencers? Are they being ignored? We're going to get right to that. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we are going to go right across Canada on the Chorus Radio Network with The Shift with Drex. We're going to be talking a little bit of Bigfoot. Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada is going to join us as well during that segment, so stay tuned for that. MJ Banias, Tim McMillan. Gentlemen, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. Glad to be here. This is fun. I'm coming to you here from early Wednesday morning, so the future, I guess you guys. So
that's right.
Good to be here.
You're in Germany, Tim, for everybody to know.
Yes.
You were in Germany, so we got to make sure that, we have some good cold beers going at this time. MJ's into that craft stuff, so, we're not sure if he knows what good beer is anymore. But MJ, always good to see you. I know you're wearing your number 13 Timu Solani jersey right now because you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, but good to have you here, my friend.
Oh, it's always a pleasure and an honor to be on your show, Dave, so thanks very much for having me.
Love having you guys here. Now, Tim, our audience has heard from MJ a couple of times on this show. I want to introduce you to them. How did you get into this whole UFO stuff? Because you have a very interesting background regarding how you got into the UFO field. Tell our audience.
Sure. I will say that my interest in the topic started about 8 or 9 years ago, and I haven't shied away from the fact that it was spurned from having my own interesting sighting. I caveat that by saying I'm not sure what I saw, but by definition, I saw something anomalous I can't give any prosaic explanation to. And at the time, I was a police sergeant there, right outside of Savannah, Georgia, from the South. So everyone, please forgive me, because growing up my almost entire life in the South until a couple months ago, where I ended up here in Germany, it's never cold, and I don't know anything about hockey. So I may miss the hockey references, but I do enjoy a good brawl. So for that much, I'm a fan.
Me too.
But yes, my entire career. Basically, all of adulthood was spent in law enforcement until I took early retirement about a little over a year ago as a police lieutenant, and then was working for a private firm as an investigator and intelligence analyst. And then just recently, my wife works for the Department of Defense as a teacher, actually. And so had the opportunity to come here to the southern Rhineland in Germany, and that's how we ended up. But my interest, I tell people, started years ago with my own sighting. It wasn't up until about a year ago did I start engaging in, I guess, the public discourse on the topic. For quite some time, I shied away from, quote-unquote, the UFO community, not for any other reason than just trying to figure out whatever I had seen, and just the topic itself I think sometimes you need to stay away from it's a very polarized and opinionated field, put it that way. So if you're trying to learn, sometimes maybe engaging isn't the right path. But that's what's brought me here.
Tim, why did you feel that you needed to get more involved to start writing about this? Because we all have our own reasons. I don't believe for a second it's because you had a sighting as a cop. But why did you feel the need to start digging into this on a more journalistic role?
Sure. Well, one of the things is that, my background totally was as an investigator. And so in some capacities and different roles throughout my career, it was always in investigations. And so that's kind of my niche or what I bring to it. And when you're an investigator, especially in the criminal justice field, your approach is quite different than I think people are most accustomed to, especially in ufology, where I think you'll see a lot of debates that rage out there between the scientific community or the non-scientific community, and I say that latter is just saying people to get frustrated by the standard of evidence that is necessary for the scientific community. I always say, I'm not a scientist, I'm an investigator. And so as an investigator, it's more of a holistic approach where, in science, hard data is what's so necessary, and a lot of times anecdotal evidence. People's actual accounts are discounted because they're considered fallible. You can't accept that. Where I felt like there wasn't enough holistic approach, and frankly, when I started getting into writing about a year ago, longer than that. Initially, Dave, I was writing for the past couple of years on social politics in America. Yeah, that's a fun topic nowadays. And so. But in taking that approach, and I realized there wasn't, in my opinion, there wasn't a lot of good, legitimate information that was being put out on the topic. There was a lot of credulous information, and there was a lot of, I felt like you had people who were, mainstream media that was just reprinting information that was handed to them, but nobody was going out there and seeking information. Nobody was going out there and actually putting an objective look into the topic. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do, is if I do believe that the subject is serious enough that it warrants that. That's always been a big complaint of mine, is that the seriousness that we're ultimately talking about with the topic isn't treated as such. And so that's what I try to do. Hopefully, am successful in doing that. We definitely try to put out the best objective information we can.
I want to bring MJ in, MJ Banias, a writer and blogger out of Manitoba, Canada. I would say MJ, and I know you don't like compliments very much, and you'll probably clam up like you normally do, but I think you are one of the best new and Canadian writers out there in this field, which has a long lineage of very successful people, whether it's Chris Rutkowski, whether it's Grant Cameron, Stanton Friedman, Victor Vigiani. There's a long list that I think it's pretty proud for our country and people involved in ufology, to have your name added to that north of the border.
I appreciate your kind words, but they're not deserved, Dave. Come on, man.
Here we go. See what did I tell you, Tim? What did I tell you? Right there. There it is.
Well,
there it is.
And I echo your sentiment, Dave. MJ, I don't shy away. He's a friend, but he of mine as well. But he is definitely, I would say, a huge influence on myself. That's gotten me into the public arena. But so yes, he's being kind here.
Yeah, I agree.
He definitely brings a different perspective.
Well,
MJ,
listen,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, listen, I appreciate your kind words. It's been a long road for me. I mean, compared to Tim, who's been doing the writing for, at least in the UFO field, for the year. For me, it's been, it started with a blog. It then became Mysterious Universe, and now this, it's been this sort of long journey for me to get to, Vice and Popular Mechanics. But I'll say, like, Dave, without your, faith in me, bringing me on your show, years ago for the first time, getting some audience and some, people to start paying attention to some of my work really helps. So I really appreciate that. And Tim, you and I have our conversations all the time. I often rely a little more on your sage and wise investigative tactics and advice, because me, sometimes I'm a little too hot to trot, and Tim's the one who kind of goes, whoa, slow down, man, like, let's talk about this, and then all of a sudden the story becomes better because he kind of ropes me in a bit. So it's good. We're all in good company, I think.
Well, let's end the love in right there, and let's get to some UFOs, because that's the reason
Agreed.
why we brought you guys in here. And this is going to be a show where we're just not going to have enough time, and it sucks, but that's just the way it's going to be tonight. There's a lot going on, gentlemen, in the last, let's face it, this year is almost over. It's 9/10 over pretty much. And we have seen a lot of things happen this year in the field of ufology, whether it's Harry Reid coming out, pushing government for more money in the United States, whether it's senators looking into the United States Navy, whether it's the Pentagon admitting they look into UFOs, the Navy, whoever it may be. What has been, MJ, the biggest story so far this year in ufology in regards to trying to bring the disclosure movement forward?
Oh, that's a good one. I think the one for me, and it's, when we talk about like biggest, I think the one for me that is incredibly dramatic for 2019 was the most recent news that To the Stars sort of formally signed a deal to do, a joint research project known as a CRADA with the U.S. Army. I think for me, that's a significant story, only because it's really the first time a UFO organization has made, that sort of deal with a government and military agency. Tim and I co-wrote a piece for Vice in regards to the Navy coming out and stating publicly, the objects in the three videos that were released by the New York Times and To the Stars, were unknowns. And I think that's a huge news story. But I think this one with the deal with the CRADA and TTSA, I think that's probably the biggest for me, the sort of most shocking and most jarring, ufologically speaking.
How about you, Tim?
I'm going to say that, and he stole it from me at the end, because I was like, how is he not going to mention that one? So I would say that the first piece that me and MJ teamed up together for Vice, for me, the biggest deal was the Navy coming out and saying that, the objects they're seeing in the videos that have been released, attributed to TTSA, that these showed, unidentified anomalous phenomena. For me, that was probably the most significant because, again, me and MJ, when we discussed that and worked on that article together, we tried very hard to find an example that would compare. And there was plenty of times that the government came out and said there was strange stuff, there was stuff they couldn't identify. They alluded to it, but we tried hard and couldn't find an example of where the government pointed at a physical something, a picture, a video, and said, that is a UFO. And so that was unprecedented. And still, that's still something that really actually has spurred me down the path where I have been digging very deeply into the Nimitz encounter. Because for them to say that, it's intriguing. I think at face value, should we take that as the gospel? Well, no, but at the same time, for them to have a willingness to say it, I think that was really huge for me. But I agree that TTSA's CRATA, they're partnering with the Army. That in itself is another example of that one will be an evolving one, because that's just kind of the start of what will be a partnership to figure out what they've got a hold of.
Right. I think Tim, it sort of shows both of these stories, right? The Navy, UAP admittance, I guess you can call it, and the CRATA deal. I think it goes to show the amount of oxygen that TTSA takes up in the UFO field. The last time, whatever it was, 2 years ago, I think, Dave, when I was on, I sort of said, on your show, that, To the Stars is going to be the loudest voice in the UFO room. They're going to be the clanging gong, right, that everyone's going to be listening to, and they're going to take over culturally the UFO community, and they're going to dominate the sort of airwaves, and they're going to dominate the news when it comes to UFOs. And and sort of it came true. They do. It helps that, I'm the one who writes articles, but, more importantly, though, they've done a lot of things in the last 2 years. We have to give them credit partially for this, the Navy admitting that, these are UFOs, as well as the CRATA and all that. Like it's, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that it's there. And they're the ones kind of, I'm not sure, again, the loudest voices in the room.
Well, here's the thing. I have been highly critical of To the Stars Academy, and I've taken a lot of criticism online, and I'm okay with that. I really am okay with that, because one of the things that I have not been all right with from a journalistic point of view is a lot of the red flags that have come out in regards to this group. Now, I will be the first to admit, all right, and I realize there's a whole crowd out there who will not believe me when I say this, but I have said this publicly before. They always just seem to skip it on social media. They have done a lot of good things. They've got the message to the mainstream. They have got people talking. They have kept this story alive, which we have all dreamed of in this field, albeit that could be argued at certain points. But the criticalness that we have had is, I think a lot of the mainstream media has given them a free pass because the media really has never understood this story or even wanted this story. So when you look at the last year at the way the media has covered this, Tim, has it been good for ufology, or has it been a real show on the mainstream side only? Okay, that they really were caught off guard with all the information that the TTSA was able to bring out? That's one of the things where I say I would differ with a lot of people who will just say that the UFO community, which I know lumps a lot of people in. So I don't mean that in any one particular way, but I think that some have suggested that the mainstream attention, that the more attention it's on Fox News, it's on CNN, is maybe more significant than I have interpreted it. And the reason I say that is because, looking at it from someone who tries to be a purveyor of objective news, objective information, a lot of what we have seen are just kind of, they're native advertising or influence press releases, meaning information that's handed out and the media reports it, or in a lot of cases, and I know MJ would share with me here, it's funny to actually write articles, have them published, and watch other publications cut and paste your original work and put it out there. It is fun.
But they're right. It's interesting, and I get it. I don't take any offense to it, but it does put in perspective for you that there's not as much real work going into that information sharing. And so I think, and I'd say that's a big influence of why MJ and myself started doing what we did, writing in different publications, writing in more mainstream publications, is because we try to put out original product. We're trying to go out there and seek answers. And so I think that's vital. in terms of getting good information, because both MJ and myself have spoken to the Stars Academy, the different people who have been involved. I actually, ironically enough, spoke to Chris Mellon last night, and putting them on notice. It's not calling them out, and it's not saying anything negatively, but saying, hey, we're going to be looking into stuff. And so I love to hear what you have to say. I'm going to try to vet and verify that the information that you're telling me is accurate, because I think the public deserves that. The people deserve that. The topic deserves it.
See, I'm going to cut you off right there, because one of the things that I recall in that original press conference going back a couple of years was that they wanted the public to be involved with ufology. They wanted to be that voice of the public to bring it out. And we have seen roadblock after roadblock, to the point where just less than a month ago, Tom DeLong puts on his Instagram that the TTSA is not a UFO research group. Well, you made yourself out to be that right in your opening press conference. Then you forgot to put UFO or aliens or anything on your website. And now you're announcing, after the CRADA and after the deals with the military and the television show about UFOs and every type of UFO talk we could potentially have, you say you're not a research group. This is the confusion that many people who want to support the TTSA are having, saying, like, does this group know what they're doing? And that doesn't even include the dodging of the media outlets.
Sure. Well, and I'll tell you something that it's not a secret. I've said the same thing to Mr. Elizondo. I've said the same thing to Chris Mellon just recently, is that I have said that you guys are horrible at public affairs. I don't know. And I say that because, but I also want to make sure that when in saying that to people, that could mean several things. But what I have, again, told both of those individuals is that their organization is comprised of a lot of people that come out of the intelligence community or the black world, the world of secrets. These are not people who inherently talk or share anything. Like, they're not your public affairs people. So to some extent, they're disadvantaged by not having people who are comfortable sharing information. And so I don't know how much that is a hindrance to the things that go on. Right. Or you're right, it is very confusing. I have said the same thing, that Tom DeLong's tweet.
Tim, I'm going to cut you off right there because I want to get you and MJ to expand on this. We're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. From Vice Magazine and Popular Mechanics, Tim McMillan, MJ Banias. More on the search for the truth in UFOs after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a Space Traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, reminding all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can catch them on our free YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. You could join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Head on over to the Vault. Get yourself some SOR swag. And if you want a good book, pick one up at We Read the Night. From Vice Magazine and Popular Mechanics, we have writers MJ Banias and Tim McMillan with us. We're going over the full gamut of UFOs tonight. What is happening, and getting a complete update on this strange year in the entire field. Right before the break, I'd asked you, Tim, and MJ, I want you to follow up on this in regards to whether or not the entire narrative, with whether it's spun by TTSA, the government, or whomever, was really trying to control what is going on. And you wanted to finish up with that in regards to TTSA.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think before the break, I was just saying that it is, TTSA. Admittedly, I say admittedly, I have said the same thing to some of the people that are part of the organization, that they aren't great information sharers. But I say that in caveating for people, what that means is that everybody who's in the organization right now, with the exception of Tom DeLonge, is not someone who's accustomed to sharing public information. In fact, it's the exact opposite. They come from a secret, dark, classified world where you don't talk about what you're working with your family, your spouse, your coworkers. So it's a very interesting world. And how much that effect has had on them, I don't know. But I think people who question some of the stuff, or some of the bizarre kind of back and forth, and you mentioned Tom DeLonge coming out and saying, we're not a UFO group. And I was one of the people who was like, wait, what? I thought that's what we were. It makes it difficult. And it's hard for me to be critical of TTSA, because that would mean understanding exactly what their goals and intentions are. And I don't know that I necessarily have a handle on that. And I have spoken to some of the people involved.
I'll jump in here, Dave, because I think it ties in. And I said this in an article, I can't remember which one, but it had to do with the idea, I think, that To the Stars itself as an organization is sort of bipolar. It has this outward appearance, or this outward message of, listen, we're just talking about anomalous aerial vehicles. We're not talking about aliens. We're not talking about interdimensional beings. We're not talking about that sort of UFO narrative mythology stuff that sort of has made up the UFO discourse, right? And I don't mean mythology that it's fake. I just mean sort of the ideas of ufology as a concept, ET and all that stuff. Yet sort of internally, clearly they do have those belief systems. Tom DeLonge, the CEO, has written 2 books, 2 nonfiction books, as well as sort of other fictional books about, human interaction with extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings or whatever. So you have this sort of internal system where there's definitely a belief in extraterrestrials and aliens and that whole narrative. Yet the outward appearance that they're presenting to the mainstream public is a research body, a research and development body now that is engaging in scientific study of sort of anomalies. So there's this sort of bipolar kind of schizophrenic framework that's guiding TTSA, and I think it really affects how they approach the public, just like Tim pointed out, because they do have a background in intelligence for sure, but it's also just the fact that they I don't think know exactly what their message is either. I'm personally convinced that a lot of the people within TTSA, a lot of the individuals who are the contractors, not just Mr. DeLonge, have belief systems that play towards an interdimensional or extraterrestrial hypothesis. I think that they do believe those things. I think there's a lot of people in most likely sort of the ATIP program who also believe in extraterrestrials and paranormal ideas and interdimensional ideas. So I don't think that this is sort of strange. I do think, though, that they're unsure how to manage a message when you have two opposing paradigms within the same company, and how do you then present those two opposing paradigms in a way that makes sense? And I think that's why sometimes they have a good sort of PR campaign, and then sometimes they have like the worst PR campaign you've ever seen in your life. So I think we just need to kind of, I think, maybe appreciate that.
In regards to the way they have controlled the narrative and trying to get the information out there, MJ, the way they've tightened it up, the way that this group has taken over the entire media part of it, is there any way to break through that narrative to try and give the other side of what is going on? Or are they so tightly in tune with the United States military, whether it's the Navy, the Army, the armed forces in general, that there's no way that this narrative can now shift back to being a proponent of the people rather than of, as some people are calling, the military machine?
Yeah, well, that's the tough part, right? Because they've sort of tried to pivot here. They recently released a sort of frequently asked questions about their deal with the government, and it sort of has this odd kind of, at times, clunky messaging of, yeah, we signed a deal with the military to do these studies. However, you need to know that just because we're doing these deals, we still technically own all of the intellectual property, and we're trusted as being a transparent organization. And I think, that a lot of people sort of take pause, right? When we hear that, we sort of go, okay, well, hold on a second. Like, we get you're going to maintain the intellectual property, and that's fine. But, the military does get access to the results of any testing. And if it is something that would be of national security interest, I don't think that they're just going to let you walk off and be like, well, we're going to share this with everybody now. They're most likely going to ensure that it's secured in some way. And then, again, we have to kind of look at if To the Stars is looking to be a research and development company, a sort of reincarnation of Skunkworks in sort of using, I don't know, exotic materials from crashed flying wedges. Again, Skunkworks didn't get rich by sharing its secrets with the public. Skunkworks got rich by hiding its secrets and building stuff based upon those secrets. So I don't know. I'm not convinced that To the Stars is going to do that or engage in that type of behavior. But I'm just sort of, history has shown how this has worked in the past. So I'm being cautious, optimistically cautious.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Okay, MJ, I'm going to fire this one at you then. Does the To the Stars Academy, in your opinion, have the best interests of people in ufology in their hearts?
No, I mean, they've plainly said that, right? They've plainly said that To the Stars, we're not ufologists. We're not a UFO. They've openly said they're not a UFO research organization now. Multiple people from To the Stars have sort of stated publicly, we don't really care what the UFO community thinks. We're just going to, we're going to do us, and if people have a problem with that, we don't care. So that's a sort of a public position they've taken. It's not necessarily the best public position to take all the time in this case, only because the UFO community is a very interesting community when it comes to how it sort of deals with its own and how it eats its own and how it praises its own. So I think kind of coming out and saying, listen, we're not ufologists, we're not UFO researchers, we're not interested in that, that's going to cause some, I guess, let's just say ideological harm to your base, which is the UFO community. But on the flip side, it allows for maybe more non-UFO people to engage with it a little more and be like, hey, well, this isn't the sort of, Corey Good, David Wilcock tinfoil hat wearing ufology that that we see. This is maybe a more rigorous or a more rational or reasonable sort of group that we're going to be dealing with. So again, I think they're trying to play to a certain message, or they're trying to play to a certain community, and they may not be playing well. I think that's kind of the problem here.
So why alienate, Tim, the field of ufology? Why go down that road? Why all of a sudden take all of these great researchers, these great young minds, as well as the veterans who've been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years, and why push them to the side and jump on the bandwagon of saying, get out of the way, we're taking over now, and this is our show? Why do that?
Well, that's a great question, and it's kind of multifaceted in my opinion. Part of the reason, I would say, just in conversations and both what's been publicly put out there by TTSA, and just to reiterate kind of what MJ just touched on, when we say TTSA, I don't know that there's a unified message. So, because you have these individuals in the group who have their own views, and their own roles in the organization, but I don't know that there's really a unified message. But I would say, if I had to try to wrap my brain around really an ultimate goal, and part of it involves making the topic something that the UFO community would agree on, more mainstream, palatable, more interest from people who aren't interested in UFOs beforehand. And so I think when certain things have come out, and it's alluded to the fact of like the UFO community isn't our target audience. That pertains to the fact that they're not as interested in people who already believe in UFOs, or already know that something's going on, or already have their own views going there. They're looking for, Joe and Bob who've never considered it in Midwest Ohio. And getting them interested in it, because one big thing, and I've said this publicly before, that they have been most effective with is the political side of things, the political lobby end. Although, again, and I'm not saying anything out of line, because something that I spoke about to Chris Mellon yesterday, and we've seen in his op-eds, it is also equally not as big as people think, meaning the politicians in D.C. aren't taking it as seriously as they would like. But I think that's why, is they realize that the UFO community is a very diverse bunch, and it's hard because it's very polarized as well. So if you side with X, researcher number X, who's been doing it for this long, but if their views of the UFO topic are different from researcher Y, well, then suddenly you kind of alienate it, and becomes this. I mean, we've seen this. We're Twitter feuds and everything else that goes on there. It's a fickle bunch that's difficult to make any one person happy. Okay. Now, with that said, though, that goes back to where I was originally talking about the kind of poor public relations campaign, is because I would be a lot like them if I was in their shoes, where I might throw my hands up and go, forget this. I have my mission. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to care about these people. However, I don't think I don't think that's the best path forward. And I do believe that getting some people who are able to engage the community and maybe bring more people together, because ultimately, that's, if you're going to make a change in a democratic society, that's what you need, is the people on board. And so I understand the frustration, see where you're at. I kind of understand where they're coming from in terms of why maybe they have alienated it as well. One of the things that I'm trying to work with them on, and I say work with them as in an objective purveyor of information, is getting out what is the mission, what is the goals, even if there's multiple, because I'd love to know as well.
Well, I mean, that brings up a different part. MJ, in this idea where, Tim's kind of saying maybe they're trying to conquer and divide here an entire community, what would be the purpose of that?
Well, again, I'm not totally convinced they're trying to conquer and divide the UFO community. I think they're trying to... maybe they're trying to skirt the UFO community. It's really tough because, again, we're not really sure. We're not really sure what their mission is really fully. And again, my concern a little bit is maybe not everyone in TTSA is also aware of the mission either. There might be sort of multiple missions happening, and people are sort of trying to figure it out as they go. We need to remember that there's a long history with some of the players in TTSA. Hal Puthoff has been kicking around the UFO community for a really, really long time. We talked about, the UFO community as sort of this polarized group, or this polarizing group. Hal Puthoff himself as an individual is sort of quite a polarizing figure within the UFO community. A lot of people respect him. A lot of people think he's great, and a lot of people don't respect him, and a lot of people sort of are really nervous and think he's a shady character. So it just depends on who that researcher is and who is I guess, writing or tweeting or whatever at the time, and then suddenly sort of the narrative kind of hovers around Hal Puthoff or other individuals. Tom DeLonge has been in the UFO community quite a long time, and he's been sort of, at conferences and doing stuff. So clearly there's individuals within TTSA who are part of the UFO community. Even though if they may not consider themselves, members of the community, they still kind of are, because they're sort of respected or they're lionized or demonized, right? Because of their sort of presence in it. So we need to, again, kind of take that into consideration. I don't want to say that they're trying to divide and conquer the UFO community. I think what's happening is the UFO community is dividing and conquering itself based upon where people are drawing their lines of allegiance. One thing TTSA has done very well, I think, is garnered sort of support amongst a core group of people who are incredibly supportive of them, regardless of what the information that comes out sort of states. And often it boils down to arguments of, are you choosing, the best sources to convey your message or whatever in your articles? This is the criticism that's been lauded at me. Are your sources the best because this is not, a fair objective argument, even though, one would argue it is. It's just, it depends on where they stand. So they've done a good job of creating a core group of followers, I think, that are quite vocal and quite successful. They have a lot of hits on their websites. They're generating a lot of Twitter followers. They're generating a lot of Twitter chatter. And that's great. But on the flip side, there's also, right, that group of people who think that they're the enemy and they're, active disinformation agents and all this stuff. So, the UFO community is very good at doing this to itself. It doesn't need TTSA to divide and conquer. TTSA just needs to show up, and the UFO community will kind of start shooting at itself.
I think that is probably one of the most fairest and balanced statements that we've heard on this subject. That's why you're in central Canada. You're in the balance area. Beautiful.
Well, thanks.
Just beautiful on that. Tim, you want to weigh in?
Jump in.
Yeah, I just want to jump in because listening to MJ's masterfully crafted, they need to hire MJ, man. He's great at giving a balanced statement and making people feel good. But
he'd probably still deny my radio requests, though.
No, not us. No. We like I said, MJ and I are friends. We frequently talk about Dave Scott and Spaced Out Radio and how much we enjoy it. But we'll stop the love fest. But I want to make sure people, given some of the mindset or understanding of TTSA and how they operate, and listening to what MJ just said, I think a good example is, and I don't know how many people, it's one of the most recent books that I have thoroughly enjoyed that gives a different perspective is Dana Paluska's book, American Cosmic. And for anyone who's read that, she she was with the Jacques Vallée, someone who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. One of the few figures in the field who I have not gotten the chance to ever speak with or meet, but definitely hope I do. But when she's talking about that and the invisible college type thing, and she uses some pseudonyms to talk about people in there. She talks about Jacques Vallée's. Part of what's made them successful in pursuing the topic is doing so in the shadows and out of the limelight. And Jacques Vallée is a longtime associate and friends with a lot of people who are in TTSA. Hal Puthoff being number one. And so that gives some indication, I would say, of how a lot of the people who are involved with TTSA have been involved in the subject as well for many years. So on top of having a kind of classified, secretive background, they have engaged the topic in the shadows and shied away from the community, something I kind of understand because, like I said in the beginning, that I did myself for years. So to some extent, I believe that not being as forthcoming with what they're doing or what they've got or what they plan to do kind of comes naturally because that's what they were doing before they were TTSA. And so it's always something to keep in mind. Is that good or bad? Well, if you're going to be a public organization, and especially now being classified as a public benefit organization, it goes back to what I said. They need that public outreach person. But I just bring that up to give maybe some, maybe a reference point of kind of the mindsets of how the individuals who are in it may approach the subject. Is that they feel like they're more successful when they're not sharing information frequently.
No, and what, Tim, that I totally agree with you. I think there is this again, and again, it sort of speaks to maybe the schizophrenia or the bipolar sort of version of TTSA, right? This idea of creating a corporation that's designed to be public, but using people and working with contractors who are used to not being public and in the limelight. So now having to, whenever someone from the press requires a statement, the gut reaction is not to say anything because I've never said anything before, so why would I start now? But because we're a public company, we need to issue statements to the public. What do we say? And then suddenly we have to work with people who like staying in the shadows, but how do we get their message out in a public way that makes them happy and makes us happy? And it's really difficult, right? A lot of these individuals don't want attention; they just want to do their work. And just
MJ,
I'm
going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off right there. MJ Banias, Tim McMillan from Vice and Popular Mechanics. We're getting more into the UFO field and the military coming up in hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio. At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Appreciate you all being with us. Big thanks to everyone listening in on KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and on the digital side, everyone tuned in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Malice Cessation. Malice Cessation is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, has a plethora of features for you. Keep up to date with Captain Shirk's SOR News Wire. Sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Head on over to the Vault. Get yourself some new shirts and stuff. And if you want a good book, head on over to We Read the Night. From Vice and Popular Mechanics, we have writers MJ Banias and Mr. Tim McMillan, all the way from Germany. Tuning on in. We're talking the state of ufology right now as we've been going through this. And gentlemen, I want to say thank you for tuning in with us. We got you for another 90 minutes here. And in regards to the military, the United States military has really opened up this year about the whole subject of UFOs. It has been something that I believe even caught the majority of people who've been doing this for years off guard, Tim. When the Navy came out and said, yeah, we're looking into this. The Pentagon coming out, we're looking into this. How big of a disclosure was that to the process?
Well, I think it was huge in a public front. And what I mean by that is that I think a lot of people don't realize, and coming, I worked in a localized government setting in law enforcement, but I was fortunate in that capacity because I was a certified instructor, and so I actually had a lot of opportunities to work with the federal government on the law enforcement side of things. So not necessarily the national defense military, but rather the domestic defense infrastructure. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how interested a number of people who are in the government are in the subject. And it's probably the same thing as with just scientists. How many scientists find the topic fascinating? And so for them to come out and say, we're looking at this and, we're interested, as an American, it was refreshing to hear this kind of candid. But I think it was also refreshing in the sense that, well, they damn well should have been. And I say that because You know, there's no doubt in my mind that the UFO phenomena is real. Okay, what it really is, I don't know, and I won't speculate. I haven't had the kind of experiences that some people have had, but I know that it's a real thing. And so the idea that you have something going on, you know, in your area, over your sovereign airspace, this type of stuff that you don't control or you don't understand, I think taking out all of the ideas of what it, quote unquote, is, the idea that our military or our intelligence communities wouldn't care is disturbing, because they should. Because I think that's one of the things that I give TTSA a lot of credit for. I think that maybe the message at times has sounded more doom and gloom, and I think people are like, oh, you know, sweet Jesus, are they about to start an intergalactic war with something we can't handle or whatever, or there's no evidence that this is a threatening phenomena. But at the same time, I do agree with the fact that you can have a combination of all of the above. And so you could have a visiting extraterrestrial race, and you could have a foreign adversary flying over your airspace. And so it's refreshing to at least know that is a concern and something, an investment that they've put into. It's interesting for so many years that was dismissed, and I think that's hurting them now in terms of getting people from the military to come forth, getting people in government to take it seriously. Is for quite a number of years, the government's position has been, oh, this is silly, there's nothing to it. It's been ridicule and stigma. And for what reason, I don't know. But that has not proved to be successful, I think, in really getting a firm grasp on what's going on.
MJ, your thoughts?
No, I agree with Tim. I think there's significant evidence that's been discussed over and over again, and one of my favorite UFO researchers in this regard is Paul Dean out of Australia, who has a website where he literally reports, and presents old, investigations of UFOs and old declassified documents of UFO events that the Army or the Air Force or whatever has actively investigated in some way, and they use different expressions and terms. So Paul Dean's work is sort of stupendous in this, and it just goes to show that after Blue Book closed, clearly that wasn't the end of UFO investigations for the United States military or the government. Only now are we seeing maybe again this rekindling of more public discourse regarding UFOs on the part of the military. We're seeing this more here. I can now send a request to a government PR person and say, hey, I'm writing an article about UFOs. Can you answer the following questions? And they don't just laugh at my email. They respond to the questions, or they direct me to someone who can. So I think it kind of goes to show that the UFO stuff is very much on the radar of the military's public relations people, because people are now making press inquiries to those gentlemen and women to get more information about UFOs. So it's great to see that this public discourse is occurring more openly. And like Tim, I definitely believe that the UFO phenomenon is a real phenomenon. But I think the speculation is where we tend to fall down the rabbit hole. The speculation is where we tend to go down the conspiratorial paths, where we start to go down into sort of mythologizing the UFO phenomenon. We don't have a clue what's going on. We know something's happening. We just don't know what that something is. So, it's refreshing to have the military open up a bit more, but we also need to kind of remain cautious and balanced. We need to remain critical, and we need to not get bogged down in that stuff we're sort of making up and spinning out of control with a little bit, and sort of making claims that we think are true, but really are more belief claims.
Okay, MJ, what about Mark Warner? This is a gentleman who is on one of the committees about intelligence and defense. He has tried to press the United States Navy for more information regarding UAPs, UFOs, and the videos that have been released. And the Navy basically said, we've given you enough. You don't need any more. What about your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we now know that the Navy isn't going to be releasing anything else, right? They're willing to answer questions, but they've very plainly stated, the 3 videos that came out were not supposed to come out. At least that's their claim. There's potentially some evidence to the contrary here, and there's a lot of debate that rages about this. But from a PR standpoint, the Navy has come out and said, listen, these 3 videos came out. We don't know what happened. We're not going to really answer your questions about that, how that leak occurred. I have pressed, is there an investigation taking place? And I've been told there is, but they're not going to talk about it because it's an open investigation. So that's sort of the extent of the press comments that were made publicly by the PR people from the Navy and the Pentagon. But I agree. I mean, they're willing to answer your questions, but they're also willing to shut you down and just say, listen, we can't talk much more about it. Because, it's bridging now on, I guess, things we don't want to talk about or stuff that's classified or whatever.
Well, Tim, this leads me to a question for you then. If the Navy basically shut down Mark Warner and the Senate and Congress in regards to any more information being leaked on this, how did the original videos come out? And question 2 on that, how is TTSA able to put their logos on the videos when those are property of the United States Navy and the Armed Forces?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me break that apart. In terms of how the videos came out, I don't want to give away too much or tease anything, but I actually am currently working on a follow-up to the article that was published last week that I did on the Nimitz event with the enlisted witnesses for Popular Mechanics. It's going to just tackle the FLIR 1, so the Nimitz FLIR 1 video. So not the other 2, in just tackling the kind of weird history behind it. Again, I don't want Popular Mechanics to be mad if I gave away all the good info before it comes out, but I'll just say that it's with a lot of things in ufology, the fact is, the myths are bigger than the facts. And so once I kind of dug into some of the facts, you realize that there's a lot of, where missing information, at least in the public's eyes, comes out, then myth comes in. People fill it in with grandiose things. So I don't know that there's as much conspiracy behind it, although I think it's pretty common knowledge that in terms of that particular video was not technically released for the first time in 2017. That video was unlawfully released about 10 years prior. And so in terms of how the 3 videos that we got out there is a huge conflicting story because we now have... we've seen the emails and the release in the form, the DD 1910, where Mr. Luis Elizondo, while he was still employed with the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense, was actively getting these videos released. There's some discrepancy over were these being released to go to the public or were these being released, under different pretenses to go to industry partners. I hope to be able to clear some of that up, but I don't have that answer yet as well. I will say that, it's interesting with all the conflicting stories between spokespersons and then different people. Although I've always been the first to say, I come from a law enforcement background, and the fact of the matter is if these videos were, released under less than scrupulous circumstances and against the government's wishes, well, there will be punitive action. And the fact that we haven't seen any punitive action would suggest either A, the government really doesn't care, or B, there's more information as to why these videos were released or that they were cleared for public release that aren't contained in the emails or information that we've gotten out there. And so either one of those could be the option, because I think it's already been put out there that when the FLIR 1 video was leaked back in 2007, the Navy's gone on the record and said, yeah, we knew about it, but we just didn't care, which is remarkable, for two reasons. It's remarkable either because that's not true. They did care, and for whatever, the video did get removed, so there's that. And they may have done something, or it's remarkable in that it possibly gives some insight into the more accurate idea of how much the government has been involved on a formal level with the UFO subject. Because there's plenty of examples where we can see like Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden, of people who have taken classified information and released it to the public, and they're either buckling down for a good Moscow winter right now, or they went to prison. And that didn't happen with this case. And so the videos are interesting. I will say that much, because they're short, condensed clips, which we believe should be longer videos. So does the government still holding longer videos? I don't have an answer for that. I'd like to find out. In terms of TTSA slapping their logo on it, I'm not as versed in copyright law out of all of my legal background. And so how they're allowed to do that or whatnot, do they own the videos themselves? No, because they didn't produce them and they weren't released to them. And so, the people who have, if there's copies of videos that don't have the logo out there, that's perfectly fine. I don't, ultimately the ownership of those videos should be the United States government, specifically the United States Navy. And so therefore, if anyone was to challenge the fact that they've got their logos on it and they're kind of claiming ownership of it, it would have to be the government. And so either they don't care or they're okay with it. I don't know. That's an answer. That's a question that, like MJ said, we may have to pose to, official government spokespersons, because I don't have an answer for that.
Is that part of the frustration, is we get a little bit, MJ, and then the trail just kind of dies off like these videos?
Yeah, it's like Jacques Vallée sort of famously wrote, right? You'll always get 95% of the information, and that's the easy bit, right? It's that other 5% that always remains hidden, and is really the information that matters, right? I think he was talking to an intelligence person in one of his books. I can't remember. I think it's Revelations, right? And the guy sort of says, "Listen, yeah, the government will give you 95% of everything. Even a spy will give you 95% of the information you need, but it's really the 5% that truly makes the difference." And I think that's kind of what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with information that's being given to us, right? And I think that's the other thing we need to be super kind of aware of, is that the Navy is handing it to us, right? We email and the PR people sort of give it away, or they tell us this is the answer, and so it's kind of being delivered to us, and we have to kind of take that with I think a bit of caution, because for everything they're saying, there's something that they're not saying. I'm not being conspiratorial here. I'm just simply pointing out that the Navy has secrets to keep for national security reasons, and they're gonna do that. That's why they're paid to do what they do. So as the UFO community, I think we also need to be aware of that. We're not necessarily owed anything. It's tough to kind of live in that world, right? Because I think in the UFO community, we have a long history of UFO researchers, the old dinosaur UFO researchers who have long been fighting a battle of, listen, we deserve answers to these questions. We are the tax-paying public. Clearly there's lying and misinformation and disinformation happening here. We want the truth. The truth is out there, right? As the X-Files poster says.
Yes.
Right. So fundamentally, you have this mentality within the community that's been well established. And whether you're an older researcher or a young gun, you're living in this pre sort of seeded sort of land that has this kind of deeply entrenched into it. And the problem is, the Navy or the Army or the Air Force or anybody in government is going to simply say, yeah, whatever, man. Keep thinking that you deserve it. You're not going to get it. We'll give you the 95%. But that 5% we're going to hang on to. And that's it. So it's up to people like Paul Dean. It's up to people like John Greenwald. It's up to people who do FOIA requests. It's up to journalists to dig around and find stuff and kind of try to rip away at that 5%. And maybe if we can grab a 0.1% that wasn't out there before, that makes a difference, right? Because suddenly that's just another little piece of the puzzle that, we now have that gives us that bit more of information so we don't go on paths of misinformation or listen to the people who sow purposeful disinformation just to make a buck.
And if I can jump in there real quick.
Sure, we got about 2 minutes.
All right, I'm going to go very quickly, all red, white, and blue American here, and remind people that at the end of the day, they have the power. And that's what's incredible to me is that the government or whomever is dependent upon the witness accounts and the experiences of those who experience it, which are the people. And so, to some extent, people have more power and influence over what they want because they're the ones in control of the information. And so, if you're not happy with the UFO organizations that are out there that are supposed to be investigating it, we all know the popular names, stop giving away your information freely. And instead, until you have somebody who you feel like is more forthcoming and putting forth more effort. That's one of the things that's always fascinated me about this topic. Maybe it's because I come from doing a lot of civil rights writing background as well, is that reminding people how much influence and power they actually have. And in this case, we're talking about the exchange of information. You have it, you hold it, if you give it away freely and then are mad because you don't get anything in return, well, whose fault is that?
See, I would disagree with that, though, as we got about a minute here, because if that were the case, Mark Warner wouldn't have been shut down as quickly as he did if the people still had the power, especially in this topic.
Sure. And is Warner the one that was shut down, or is Warner the one that just wasn't willing to kind of discuss what they talked about in the Senate intelligence community?
Because he was the one where he went back for more information, and then was told, "We're not giving you any more."
Okay, all right, no. And you're right there, and you're absolutely correct in terms of that represents a broken democratic system, now this delves into a whole different, even non-UFO related topic. I don't think I'd be going on a stretch here to say that American politics right now is very contentious. As an American, it's refreshing living in Germany now.
Well, you know what? Let's leave it. Let's leave it right there for now. MJ Banias, Tim McMillan from Vice and Popular Mechanics. The UFO talk continues right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Reminder, if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can catch it on our free YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, is a great place to do a little shopping. You can head on over to the SOR Vault, pick up a t-shirt and more. Want a book? We read the Dite. Join the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Captain Shirk's news is up to date daily, and we got Bumblefoot. You can rock on out, so get your horns up. From Popular Mechanics and Vice, we have writers MJ Banias and Tim McMillan with us tonight. We're talking all things UFO and what's going on, and we're talking about the military interest. And I do have to come out of the break and say, during the break, I was corrected about one of the mistakes I made, saying that it was Mark Warner who went to the Navy and said, I want more information. And it was a no. Actually, it was Walker. Walker it was. Yes, indeed.
Very easy mistake. Very easy mistake. Too marked.
Very easy.
But yeah.
I know. I know. I blew it, though. I blew it. I got it confused, and I apologize to our listeners for that. I'll take the heat for that. I know Danny Silva and the rest of them are going to go absolutely ape crazy on me on Twitter about that, and I thank TTSA for that. I really do. So, gentlemen, carrying on with the military's involvement, how come it's only been the Navy and most recently the Army, Tim, and we haven't heard anything out of the Marine Corps or the U.S. Air Force? In fact, when the Navy came out and tried to get the Air Force involved, they were pretty much saying, yeah, we don't want any of that. We're just going to stand over here and watch.
Man, that is a great question that I have been working on and am still actively working on getting an answer for, because I agree with you. In particular, the silence from the Air Force has been deafening for me, because understandably, the Navy definitely has one of the largest air operational forces, and much larger than people realize, just based on geographically, the way America has to defend itself. However, at the end of the day, the Air Force is the one who is responsible for securing the airspace around the country and including space. The Space Force that's underway, and I mean the real military Space Force, not necessarily the secret Space Force we hear about. Most of that falls under the Air Force. And so I agree, their deafening silence has been fascinating. I have attempted through working through spokespersons and different things to get some information. I have not been successful on that yet. And kind of what MJ was talking about earlier about the military spokesmen who speak out and they're not giving us all the information that they have. But one thing is very important for people to remember is your spokespersons are in different areas. In fact, we've heard a lot of conflicting reports from spokespeople. They're dependent on what somebody is telling them. So they're just kind of the official mouthpiece who's able to kind of liaison between the media or the public, but they're dependent on what they're being told. And so, it's not like any of the spokespersons, where it's Joe Gradisher or Susan Go or any of these people. It's not like they actually worked in ATIP or whatever. And so they don't have a lot of times firsthand knowledge. And so that's part of the difficulty when trying to get information out of the military is you have multiple spokespersons who are in different capacities, and so it's trying to chip away at the spokesperson who works in a certain area, headquarters, division, or department of the Air Force, in which that command structure says, okay, yeah, I'm willing to talk about this. I don't know, and it's interesting, and that's actually something that I will be more aggressively pursuing, because I do believe I want that answer. I believe people want that answer. It's one of the nice things is right here in Germany, I live right out the front gate of an Air Force base, and have a good relationship with their public affairs office, though I've never asked them, but, maybe I just need to walk in and demand answers. The other one that I will tell you, again, this kind of comes up from now being an expat and living in a different country, is the NATO, because NATO is a coalition of different things. We talk about America so much, but no offense to anybody, but I do not believe, if we were to take the extraterrestrial hypothesis, I don't believe that extraterrestrials are American, and so this shouldn't be considered inherently an American phenomenon, although because of the vast American military complex, that's often where it's defaulted to. So that was a very long way to say, Dave, I don't know why we haven't heard from the Air Force in particular. I think the Marines are going to default back to the Navy because the airspace end of it would fall on them. And even the Army, who obviously in engaging in this crowd and development program with TTSA, again, kind of the air defense aspect of that, they rely on the other branches, the Navy and the Air Force. But I have tried, including NASA and the FAA and the Coast Guard. I have reached out to all of these different spokespersons. The FAA giving me the most comical response, frankly. So I think they tried to refer me to, it was I can't think of it off the top of my head, a now defunct. It wasn't...
was it Bass?
It was not Bass. It wasn't Bass, but they tried to defer me to a defunct UFO organization, civilian organization. It wasn't
nice.
Bass, though, because I know that was the protocol. But yeah, I mean, they basically just said, yeah. Well, we don't deal with UFOs. Talk to. I wish I could remember the organization. I have to pull up the email. But let
me ask you this in regards, and MJ, I'd like to get your opinion on this as well. In regards, Tim, to the fact that you just made an intriguing comment saying, this isn't an American phenomenon. This is happening around the world. Do you know, or MJ, do you know of any other governments, because of what has been released by the Pentagon or the Navy, that have contacted the United States in regards to what their country is going through? Because this cannot be just an American thing, like you said. This is happening around the world.
Right. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, so for you, MJ. No, go ahead.
I haven't heard of any country sort of specifically saying, oh, you released this now, we want to talk more. We know, France and Brazil, Chile, another couple South American countries have sort of been much more public with their, UFO documentation or their UFO videos or whatever. So we know that a lot of other countries are much more open than the United States is with their, ufological information, I suppose. So I'm not sure if any of that sort of changes as a result. It's funny. I did entertain a phone call from someone in the Canadian government who sort of said, I want to talk to you about how, if this issue comes up, as an election issue or a question for, let's say, someone in government, how we should handle it. And what do we say about UFOs if it becomes like a legitimate question on, an open forum or something, like how would a politician handle such a question. So there has been some interest on the behest or behalf of Canadian politicians who are maybe looking at the UFO question because it was sort of very pressing news in 2018. And then from a sociological standpoint, how do we engage with the public and not make our politicians sound totally nuts by saying, they believe in UFOs, which would be, I think, in Canada, would most likely disqualify a politician from getting a position in a high office. I think a lot of Canadians would sort of be like, whoa, you believe in aliens? And then suddenly that would be the entire discourse around that one politician, at least in this country. So I've had that sort of the political fielding question.
That's actually a story. I'll be honest with you. Looking from a Canadian media standpoint, I'm surprised that isn't more of a story, because that is something that most media outlets would jump on, knowing that there was somebody in government. Obviously, you can't give up their name, because it was a private conversation. But the fact that they were actually inquiring to ufologists or UFO writers about how to handle this subject.
Yeah, easy. I'm not a ufologist. Let's take a step back here, Dave.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're craft beer guy.
Yeah. No, it was just it was. I think someone read my book and was like, I want to talk about, because you make a lot of sort of sociological arguments for the UFO question and how we would handle it as a society. I want to know, if let's say you were a politician. And you needed to field questions in an open forum, and a question was asked about UFOs, how would you deal with that? Because again, it was 2018 and there was some sort of elections occurring and stuff like that. So it was just it was an interesting question, and it was asked of me as sort of not as a journalist, but just as a citizen of this country. So I was like, well, I'm duty bound to answer your question. So I did the best I could.
Well, I think you did an admirable
that's
job.
news to me.
But,
Dave.
I'm actually going to talk to one of my reporter friends about that in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Because he loves UFO stories, just can't get them on the air. Not because there's any government official saying, no, you can't run that. But let's face
Canadians, we're different, right? Like, we're much different when it comes to the UFO question. Like, Canadians don't, like, it's really funny because I think there is a bit of a cultural difference. I think the United States really owns the UFO discourse compared to other countries. I think England has a pretty good, well-established sort of ufology as well. But really a lot of other countries don't. There's a lot of Canadian UFO researchers and a lot of Canadian ufologists who are well-established. But the Canadian population in general doesn't really engage with UFO content the same way that, like, the American sort of mainstream population does. It's a totally different ball game here. And, I know there's been a lot of discourse in the United States around, presidential candidates and, their UFO beliefs, or, would they declassify the UFO files and stuff like that. Like, that would never happen in Canadian political discourse, like, ever. Like, that would be the worst thing for a politician to ever have to address in any way, because it's just, people would be like, I'm not going to elect someone who thinks, that, because automatically people go from UFOs to space aliens, right? And it's just that leap would be made. And it's unfortunate, maybe. I think we should give people more credit than that. People's personal beliefs, maybe in UFOs or whatever, should not disqualify them from political office. But it would most likely do that here in Canada.
Wow.
Learning something new every day.
There you go, baby.
Something to do every day. Gentlemen, we got about 9 minutes before we go to break at the top of the hour. MJ Banias and Tim McMillan from Vice and Popular Mechanics here tonight talking UFOs. So with that, where do we go from here, Tim? Where do we take this topic? Where do you see it happening in the next 6 months to 1 year? Because I think that a lot of people, even in the mainstream, are kind of getting a little restless that, you kind of teased us with all of this information, both the military, the TTSA, or whomever, and we're not really gravitating or moving into that third gear, put it that way, from third to fourth gear. And there's a lot of confusion. And usually when that happens, stories get dropped. And with the momentum that's out there about the UFO subject, do we really want this story dropped by the mainstream? Because they're all about today. They're all about the 24-hour news cycle. They need it to happen now.
Sure, yeah. And I think it would be reckless of me to kind of even speculate with any degree of certainty, like, where are we going now from here? How can we go forward? I know what I would like to do, which I think kind of coincides with my buddy MJ there, which is, providing more objective and legitimate coverage on the subject, which means to some degrees, I think me and MJ both, and probably yourself as well, Dave, we don't pick up some fans at times, because sometimes when you uncover the objective truth, it maybe doesn't coincide with what somebody else's beliefs were or what they feel. But, at the end of the day, I would hope it's just can be accepted that it's kind of, it is factual, and it is the best information we have. Now, in terms, I think that your question was more kind of specifically geared at maybe TTSA. Am I correct in terms of what they'll be releasing or what we would like to see them go?
Whether it's the TTSA, we know the media isn't going to jump on this. They don't have any reporters outside of George Knapp who are going to be running for the next UFO story. All right? They're being very reactionary on this. You know what I'm saying? They're not digging the way they should be digging on such a major topic. That's the issue. So waiting for the Navy or the Army or the TTSA or any government official to come out and say something about this is a moot point.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, it has to, you're right, because it has to be a public issue. Because at the end of the day, the military, they work at the behest of politicians, and politicians who are elected by the people. And so if it becomes a legitimate mainstream concern to the larger, greater public as a whole, then they again, going back to that power you can wield it in that direction. I'm conflicted in where we'll be going or what to go, because I kind of try to bite off, I guess, maybe because I haven't been in the field as long, or I haven't been on the topic as long as other people. I'm a little more patient, and kind of coming from a background where you might work a criminal investigation for a year or years before you actually get that satisfaction of a result of some sort. In that I try to just kind of bite a piece of the apple off a piece at a time, and legitimizing or figuring out something. Do I believe that within the next year, 6 months, or maybe 2 years, are we going to see any kind of grand revelation that provides any conclusive evidence or proof or something as to what the UFO phenomena is involved with? I don't think so. That's just my opinion. I don't see that in the works. I know some people would disagree. They feel like quote-unquote disclosure is imminent. I will say this much, though, and that's something I really hope to kind of write on and maybe expand on, is that I do agree with the fact that I think this is a huge turning point for the UFO subject in general, because it is there's as much interest now as there has been since 1947, and I see that only growing. And so there's really only two outcomes that come out of that, in my opinion, which is either we do get enough support where we're able to get a better understanding, maybe some more tangible, accepted information and evidence as what's going on, or it completely busts. meaning, nothing comes in of it, and maybe all the hopes that people have had, maybe even some of the promises don't come true. And does that kind of the death keel to the UFO phenomena, at least when we're considering it from the 72-year perspective? That's been big coming out of the United States in particular, but also globally. And so I do think that this is a big moment for the subject. What that outcome is going to be, I don't know. And so that's it. I guess the mystery side of it keeps me doing what I'm doing.
MJ, is this, as we got about 3 minutes left, is this about continuing the military-industrial complex, or is this really about UFOs?
In relation to TTSA and their deal, or just in general?
Well, let's start off with TTSA and then go in general.
Yeah, man. Listen, everything is at some point related to the military-industrial complex in some way. The weapons development and weapons trading is big business. So I'm not sure if that's ever going to go away. I'm not sure if To the Stars is really going to make a dent in any way in the near future in that giant system. I mean, the weapons trade is, tens of trillions of dollars a year annually in global trade. So, TTSA is plankton in that fish tank. So that I don't think that really matters. I think the UFO phenomenon in general has always been of interest to the military and to industry. And I think that what we'll probably see in the next few years is maybe some of that starting to come out, in the sense of it's going to be much more obvious, I believe, that, these are the groups or people involved who have been who have been active in looking at UFOs, not because they hold some secrets, but purely because they're interested in them, who do hold sort of higher positions, maybe in government or in intelligence or in Senate or Congress. I think some of these names are going to start coming out a little more as we sort of continue to dig into, what exactly OSAP and ATIP was and all that stuff. So I think we're going to get maybe a clearer picture of how that's all occurring and how these investigations are occurring. But I think it's strictly going to be sort of political. I don't think we're going to get any bigger picture of what UFOs actually are or what the source of UFOs are. I think that's going to sort of remain a mystery for a really long time. Just like Tim said, the goal is to try and scratch away at the truth. And unfortunately, the truth doesn't always make everyone happy. But I think we also kind of need to just be comfortable with that. We need to be comfortable that this isn't about becoming happy or having our personal opinions or beliefs confirmed. John Keel famously said, belief is the enemy. It's what we can confirm and what we can't confirm, which is really what matters. And fundamentally, the truth will out, right? And not only that, the truth will defend itself. When we're all judged by history in the end, it's those who tell the truth that are going to kind of be, I think, remembered. The storytellers will sort of vanish in the ether.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. From Vice and Popular Mechanics, we have writers MJ Banias and Tim McMillan. Where do we go next with UFOs? We're going to see. We'll take your questions as well, because I know there's a couple built up in the chat rooms. So stay tuned. We got these guys for another half hour. Then we're going to connect with Drex across Canada on The Shift with Drex, talking a little Bigfoot. Merle may pop in, too. We'll be back. Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to give a shout out to everybody listening in on KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, in Dangerfield, Texas, AM 1560 KDNF, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and we're on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. All praise Bart L. Don't forget, you could check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Malicestation is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping and buy a Spaced Out Radio shirt. You look good in it. You can pick up a new book at We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers Club, or read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce Tim McMillan and MJ Banias. Both are writers for Vice and Popular Mechanics. We've been talking UFOs all night. Gentlemen, one of the big stories that has come out recently is in regards to metamaterials. There's a big story that both of you have had your fingers in regarding the metamaterials that were sold for $35,000 from Linda Moulton Howe to the Stars Academy and Tom DeLonge. Now, there is a bunch of different news on this, whether or not it actually is material from outer space or some compound here from Earth. MJ, I'm going to get you to start on this, because your article fired a lot of people up on this.
Yeah, it did. I took a bit of heat for it, but yeah, it was so just to kind of fill people in. Earlier in the year, To the Stars announced its Adam Project. This was actually last year. It announced its Adam Project. And then earlier this year, they announced that they had acquired some sort of what they referred to as exotic material and in their press release, they said Linda Moulton Howe, who is a sort of a well-known UFO researcher in the community for sure. And that was, we wrote articles about it, and that was sort of it. And then I managed to get in touch with Linda Moulton Howe, and there was a brief period there where she wasn't talking to anybody. She didn't want to talk to people. It was all sort of off record. And then I can't remember what set it off, but I emailed her, and then she responded with saying, yeah, you know what, I'll do an on-record interview. So we spoke for nearly 3 hours. And she sort of told me the entire story from beginning to end. A lot of it she had already talked about on her show called Earth Files and all that. Anyway, article came out, and it was a tough article to write at times because, as we were talking about earlier, in regards to the TTSA sort of press machine, I asked them to comment on some of the stuff she said, as well as sort of the claims that she made regarding, the Army having facilities to test the material, and they refused to comment. They just simply respond with a no comment email. So it was tough because I wanted to get their side of the story in the article, and I had to rely on sort of old documents, old letters from Dr. Hal Puthoff, to try to get sort of the factual part of that story out. Not that Linda, was not telling me the truth. It's just simply, you want to cross-reference your sources if you can. So it was sort of a difficult article to write. And I concluded the article with sort of the other side. So the entire article sort of focused on the idea that this material was sort of different and exotic in some way. And I finished the article by basically presenting the opposite side, which was the opinion of Dr. Chris Cogswell, who's a respected scientist as well as podcast host and member of the UFO community as well, sort of loosely, I guess, saying that, he believed that this was probably not exotic material from a crashed flying wedge spacecraft, but most likely some sort of piece of industrial slag, and obviously it sort of set off a tirade of commentary all over social media.
With that, the question that I have is, we're all focused on this metamaterials, but for those who have studied this field for a long time, or even a short time, there's been all of these crash sites. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Roswell, whether it's Kecksburg, you name it. There has been numerous crash sites. Why are we not asking the questions about where are those materials, MJ?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the big question. I mean, it's funny. I mean, you can, anyone who's done any sort of significant reading in the UFO sort of discourse. I mean, Jacques Vallée has been talking about recovered debris from alleged, anomalous vehicles since like the 1980s and even into the 70s out of Brazil. So we have a long history of recovered, UFO bits and pieces, alleged UFO bits and pieces that have been studied sort of in different ways and are being sort of constantly restudied. And Linda, does bring this up in one of her shows in regards to the arts parts or the material that she sold to TTSA. She made the claim that she was at a conference and someone approached her who she believed to be very credible, who said that, they worked at S4 at Area 51 and they had something like a 3-foot by 6-foot slab of this stuff that they had been working on and trying to reverse engineer and whatever. And unfortunately, she can't prove it, which is something you can't really write about in a mainstream publication. Like my editor would never let me say that that's a thing. But she makes this claim on her YouTube channel and in her writing. So, again, there is, I think, a fundamental belief out there amongst people within the UFO community that there are a whole bunch of crashed flying saucers or crashed bits of UFO material that we have that are larger. And Linda's piece was just sort of a little scraping versus, the actual whole ship that's parked somewhere at S4 most likely, where Mr. Lazar, says he worked and all that. This is common ufological fare that we sort of have to chew on all the time. And I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's real or not real because I don't want to get in trouble again.
Oh, come on. Take the chance. Take the chance for Chrisomania.
I'm not going to comment on that, but I do think that, I do think that there's, like I said, there's a lot of mythology. I'm not convinced that there's a giant 8-foot slab of arts parts sitting in some basement in S4. I'm not convinced anyway. I could be wrong, and I'm very prepared to eat my hat if I am, but I'm not totally convinced.
What's your thoughts, Tim?
I'm going to be honest with you, is that I'm fortunate in that I can kind of attack the different topics or issues that I think that my skill set or what interests me is best suited. And so I'm a balance of probabilities guy. And for me, that's not to dispute any of the crashed UFO type stuff isn't true. I mean, it may very well be true. I don't know. But for me, when it comes to that topic in general, I've always had this really hard problem of mitigating that balance of probabilities of, if we are to assume this is an extraterrestrial intelligent species or interdimensional, so inhuman technology, that type of technology that would be necessary in order to traverse the cosmos or traverse dimensions that we don't even know truly exist, would be so far beyond anything, even remotely close to what we have in our technological societies. It's always been hard for me to wrap my brain around the idea of how do you possess the technology to travel light years away and then you reach Earth and crash it. Because I'm not a scientist, but I can say in general, there's so many factors that would be necessary to be able to do that. It's traveling at speeds that would be necessary to do it over our understanding of biological life, to do it in a single lifetime. A piece of space dust would be like a nuclear explosion. So, you'd have to have something that could absorb that type of energy blast, that type of impact. And so to come all of a sudden and then crash, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around that in terms of the likelihood of probabilities. Now, that's why I've never really gone down that avenue to any significant extent. I'm familiar with a lot of the Roswell information. I've read up a lot. I've talked to people and everything in that regard. But even with these more recent, these metamaterials and everything, I'm kind of just sitting back and watching like everybody else. And we'll say I'm encouraged, if anything else, over the new Army agreement, because that to me is a significant thing, is that regardless of what the results are with any testing, is that those results come from an unbiased, independent party. And so I certainly hope, no matter what those results are, those will be made public. They will be privy and put out there, because if they're not openly discussed, well, we already know from history what's going to happen is more myth, more legend is going to enter the ether. People are going to fill in that information that they don't get. So I'd like to see more credible, more valid information. And so I'm sitting back but accepting that legitimate science is a slow-moving process. It could be years before we hear anything on this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I want to touch...
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I've speculated before on this idea of the crashed flying saucer phenomenon. And I had a conversation with Dr. Gary Nolan. It was on my YouTube channel, so, it's public. But I speculated that maybe, they're not that bright. Like, maybe they're really good at building spaceships, but they're not good at flying them, or, you know what I mean? And they just keep slamming them into Earth all the time. Or, the other side, which was Dr. Nolan's idea, and I believe this is sort of Hal Puthoff's idea as well, is the notion that maybe, we're being given this stuff, right? So they're not necessarily crashing, they're just ineffectively landing it on our planet, and it's just like a breadcrumb for technological development. And I said, that's actually kind of an interesting idea. I kind of dig that idea more than the fact that they're just like sloppily crashing into Earth. They're, kind of purposefully seeding our ideologies and our frameworks with new technology or new understanding of how technology should develop or whatever towards some broader purpose. And it ties in kind of to a Valian control system, paranormal intelligence that's governing us. I was like, I kind of like this idea. It's kind of nice. I don't necessarily believe it outright, but I kind of dig it more than just a bunch of aliens who for some reason keep hitting Earth with a spaceship over and over and over again. So I don't know, I'm just
and that's a very long-reaching idea, MJ. I mean, long-reaching as in like that kind of theme has been shared throughout history for thousands of years. And so, I that's a great point to bring up, because I don't dismiss that. It's just
I refer to it sometimes as the Prometheus hypothesis, right? It's them bringing us fire in a sense. Anyway.
Yeah. It's just,
one of the questions, gentlemen, that I have had from numerous listeners, as well as other guests, is the separation between UFOs and aliens. For people who are experiencers, Tim, this is a real bone of contention, because they've experienced the phenomena firsthand, whether it's abduction, whether it's contact, whether it's a landing, aliens in their backyard, or at Carl at the window. All right, it has happened. And they feel a little ripped off that the press has really been towards separating the two subjects. Is this a fair assessment for moving ufology forward, or should we be combining the two a little bit more?
Well, and that's a great topic, and it causes a lot of discourse. And I will say that, like I said, my real experience, the bulk of my writing experience for different publications for years, even while I was still in law enforcement, comes from social politics, civil rights issues, talking about very polarized stuff such as racism, sexism, this type of stuff. And so when it comes to that divide, I am familiar there. And one of the things I like to remind people is that no matter what anyone's views, beliefs, or personal systems are, they all arrive from something. They all arrive from their own personal experiences. And as individuals, we don't share in each other's experience. So if if someone has a certain knowledge, belief, or, they may actually be 100% correct because they have encountered something that I haven't or someone else hasn't. Then, their beliefs and their understandings arrive from that. However, it's very difficult to present that to the larger, broader spectrum, because it's something that the larger, broader spectrum hasn't had the same experience. They haven't had the same encounter, and they haven't had the same, their opinions and thoughts aren't formed from there. And so, whenever, and I used to be invited a lot before I moved overseas. I used to do a lot of public speaking on law enforcement reform, that kind of stuff. And I would always say part of the problem with getting an achievable goal and getting solutions-based is we often debate from our differences. We started out with, I used to use it a lot with the gun control debate in America, which is a big thing. One side, take away all the guns, the other side says, give you a rifle when you're born. And, but we don't ever start at the part that we all can agree on, which is, going back to that gun debate, it's that, the loss of innocent life is a bad thing. So we all agree on that, no matter what your ideology is. And then let's move out from there of how do we achieve that. And so putting that back in terms of the UFO topic, for me personally, I try to engage in that the specific topics that I believe the greater number of people can agree on. And so once we get there, so the idea that there is a phenomena that is occurring above our skies, possibly underwater, and different things is real, because there's overwhelming anecdotal and eyewitness evidence, pictures, videos, you name it. So if we can start from that and then move out into the question of, well, what is it? Who is it? How we're there. I think that's where we have to begin that conversation. And so I understand why completely people who feel like they have had very, very personal experiences. And just to be clear, I don't dismiss that. I think that is really fascinating, very interesting. I will say one of the biggest influences when I first started looking at this topic years ago was Dr. John Mack, the late Dr. John Mack, and his work with abduction cases. And I still am fascinated by that. And oftentimes when I hear people who speak disparagingly or dismissive of people who claim to have had abduction experiences, I bring up Dr. Mack's work. And for me, my graduate background's in psychology. It's in cognitive psychology. So for him, and being a psychiatrist, a Harvard psychiatrist, I take him, he's a very credible person. And I know that he went into this topic field with the idea of trying to uncover a unknown or undisclosed mental illness and walked away going, whoa, no, this isn't a mental illness. This is something real. That's significant to me. And so I understand people's frustrations there wholeheartedly. I would just say from my end, at least what I try to put out in a media format, it's not that I'm dismissive of the idea of an extraterrestrial hypothesis, quote unquote, or that abductions are occurring or any of this type of stuff. It's more pushing the ball or needle forward involves starting at that place where I feel like we can most agree on, and then working out from there. But yeah, great question, and I think it's I understand, I get it. I want to make sure that nobody thinks that I dismiss those accounts, and they interest me, they fascinate me, and you won't hear me coming out calling anybody crazy. That's not to say I don't hear some crazy things. And some people, I think that maybe there aren't alien experiences or anything. But I will say I've heard enough of experiences that I walk away going, wow, okay, this is something.
MJ, we got about 90 seconds left. What's your thoughts on that?
Listen, I agree with Tim in every possible way. I think that, people have been having strange experiences with strange things for a long time. This isn't a new phenomenon. This is an ancient phenomenon. I can't, and I don't know, the source of what these experiences are caused by. Unfortunately, I can't address that. But I think that ultimately, like Tim said, we need to start moving that ball forward, right? By having, for maybe one of the first few times in history, sort of intelligent and objective and good discourse occurring on a mainstream stage regarding the UFO topic. I think that we're slowly starting to see that ball kind of rolling down the field a bit. And unfortunately, change is just always slow. It's going to take a while for the rest of the world, just like Tim sort of said, to kind of warm up to other people's experiences that are sort of strikingly different from their own. Right. So there is a taboo we have to get over. But working from the place where we can all agree is the only way to start.
Tim McMillan, MJ Banias from Popular Mechanics and Vice. I've wanted to do this show for a long time. We're going to have to do it again. We definitely are. This was a lot of fun, a lot of great knowledge. And guys, keep up the great work when it comes to uncovering the UFO information, because I don't think this is a story going away very, very in a very short period of time. So keep that up and appreciate that. Everyone else, coming up next on the Mighty SOR, we're going to hook up right across Canada with our weekly visit from Drex at CKNW in Vancouver. As we go on to the shift with Drex, we're going to bring in Merle. We're going to talk a little Bigfoot. So stay tuned. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio, the last half hour, is coming at you right after this.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night.
This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Dave, welcome back to the shift. How are you?
My friend Drex, how you doing? We're just coming back from commercial break here on our end, but you know what? The beauty of radio, we can always tone down the music and get right to it. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I know that last week when we linked up our shows, we had a discussion about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, something that you address on your show all the time. But it almost seems like we need to do this for a second week in a row, because I found a story that I need your input on. Your input, because I know that you have some firsthand experience in noises in forest. Now, have you seen this story coming out of Northern Ontario in Canada?
I sure have, and you know, the sounds that are being broadcast throughout the forest there, if we can use that term, are absolutely phenomenal. Now, for those people who have had interaction with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call that big hairy beast running around the forest, who knows, it might be me without a shirt on. But either way, the sounds are incredible. The sounds are phenomenal, because it doesn't sound like any creature that you have ever heard. Now, when I lived back in Mission, British Columbia, a few years back, in my friend's yard, he had about 10 acres in the backwoods, we actually saw a pair of those creatures, and we got roared at. And I'll tell you, it was scary. So when I heard these sounds, it sounded very, very familiar. Now, people who maybe do not believe in Sasquatch will say, oh, maybe it's a rabbit in trouble, or it's a cat that's roaring, or a bear, or something along those lines. But when you have experienced outdoors people who are listening to this saying, I've never heard anything like that before, it kind of sends a little bit of chill up your spine.
Oh, no question. So here's the story for everybody playing along at home going, what are these guys talking about? So there are two videos of this, what they're describing as a mysterious howl. It was recorded in Northern Ontario. These have gone viral, too. So a 39-year-old guy who lives in Sioux Lookout was out hunting grouse with his wife, had his grandson along for the ride as well. This happened back on October 3rd. When they heard the sound, they decided to get their camera out and start filming. Now, I've enhanced the sound so you can hear it. So I've just got, like, there's a 2-minute video that's over at our website, theshiftwithdrex.ca. But I've edited it down to 5 seconds just so your listeners can hear it and our listeners can hear it. This is the sound that was recorded in Northern Ontario. Now, this goes on for a couple of minutes, Dave, and
yes.
they're the two best ones I could find. But it's frightening hearing that audio. I've been listening to that for the better part of 3 hours, wondering what on earth it is. And even the biologists with Ontario's Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry can't confirm what the sound is either.
Well, here's the thing when it comes to that. And I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist on this subject. As we talked last week, I believe that when you start bringing in a new creature that could be around the forest, it obstructs a lot of things happening in the forest. It obstructs wilderness. It obstructs if you're going camping, fishing, hunting. If there's loggers in the area, it could affect their job sites, mining, whatever it may be for natural resources. So the denial is to be expected. We've seen that right through the Canadian side, and even for our American listeners listening on my side, we've heard them in California, Oregon, Washington State also be kind of blocked out as well. So that's no surprise there that they're wondering what it is. But recordings like this have happened before. There's a famous gentleman out of the United States named Ronald Moorhead who recorded the Sierra sounds. You can go on YouTube and check those out. They sound eerily familiar. The strange part about it is these ones now are happening in Ontario. The ones previous were happening in Oregon and in Northern California. So to get those sounds that sound eerily alike that far apart, it's amazing that this creature is being seen right across North America.
All right, let me play this little piece of video here. I did some digging because you'd mentioned the Sierra sounds to me earlier today when we were chatting on Twitter. So I found this. This is an old video from the History Channel. I think it's from when they first started. So yeah, back to the 70s, Al Berry and his buddy Ron Moorhead went into the woods of the Sierra Nevada mountains in eastern California and collected a series of what they're calling alleged Bigfoot vocalizations. As you said, they're called the Sierra Sounds. Have a listen to this video that I pulled.
So for
crazy. Like,
yes.
I can't understand what I'm hearing. They freak me out a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you know, it's something that people are hearing. And a year ago, I had a personal experience up here. We were doing a paranormal investigation with a good friend of mine, Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada down in Vancouver. Now, Mike felt a little bit ill. He couldn't make it with us tonight. But we were investigating right in the middle of the forest, and there was a plane crash there that we were kind of looking at, and Mike wanted to investigate it. And when we went into this area, we had to go in with an armed guard. There's grizzly bears there, there's cougars, there's a lot of big animals that could kill you and really don't want you in the area. So we walk in behind this crash site, and we walk through this meadow, and our armed guard, Mark, is standing by this boulder. Mike and I walk across this meadow, and all of a sudden we started hearing chattering. And this is going to sound very weird, but it almost sounded like a man talking, but mumbling, kind of like. Do you remember back in the day, the old hillbilly bears when Pa used to speak? I know I'm dating myself, and you're probably never saw them, but that's kind of what it sounded like, was old Pa. And in this crash site area, there is one road in and one road out. We were on that road. We would have seen anybody coming into that area. So I said to Mike, Mike, did you hear that? And he goes, hear what? I said, the mumbling sound of a voice? He goes, "Oh, you heard that too?" And we went silent.
Did your armed guard hear it as well?
No. We called over to Mark, and I said, "Mark, were you saying something?" And he goes, "Saying what?" I said, "Well, did you hear that voice?" And he goes, "No." So here we are in the middle of the forest, and all of a sudden it happens again. Now, here's the strange part about this, Drex. Mike, being a paranormal investigator, his gear is always rolling. His audio is always rolling. His video is always rolling. When he went back to check the tapes, the audio that we heard from this mumbling voice did not make it onto the recorder. As strange as that sounds.
Wow. Okay.
Did not. And so we walked back to the crash site, and all of a sudden we start hearing thump, thump, thump in the ground. Okay, that could be a moose. It could be a bear. Sure. And then Mark, who has spent the last 35 years being a hunting guide, a professional animal tracker, everything that you would want in wilderness safety, Mark has it. Yeah. I'm listening to this sound with Mike, if he's asking me hearing it, and in the opposite direction of us, there's Mark taking the rifle off of his shoulder. Now imagine how freaked out we are at this point. So Mike's got something big. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Mark, to this day, he will not say it was a Sasquatch, okay? But he will say this. He will say, "You know what? I don't know what it was. However, all I know is that was on 2 feet, and it was trying to let us know it was there, because animals, when humans are around, try to be quiet unless they're trying to scare you." And he goes, "There's a big difference between the sound of an animal on 2 feet and an animal on 4 feet."
So when you heard that thumping and your armed guard took his rifle down off his shoulder, explain to me what happened for the next 20 minutes. Did you sort of have a quick discussion about whether to stay, whether to get out of there?
Oh, we got the hell out. We got the hell
were you
out.
that freaked out? Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't say scared. It was more so in regards to trying to figure out, okay, I think we've worn out our welcome here. Let's slowly pack out. Let's walk together and just leave. You kind of get this feeling that overwhelms you when you're kind of surrounded, okay, like we were, that it's just time to leave. That it's not going to be good.
Because it's dark, it's not daylight, you can't see what could or could not be there. So, that's all running through your mind. Could it be something that's going to attack us? Could it be something that's just wanting us to get out of here? Could it be something simple? And that's the thing, is because it's dark and you have that, half your senses are pretty much gone because you can't see what's going on. You can imagine how the human brain processes information like that.
Well, fear takes over. Fear takes over. I mean, we're all scared of the unknown. And that's what it comes down to. Whether it's these howling sounds out of Ontario, it's easy for anybody who doesn't spend any time in the wilderness to sit there and say, Drex, "Oh, that's a cougar," or "That's an owl," or "That is some sort of bear or animal being attacked or dying due to natural causes, or just the part of being a predator and a predatory animal for hunting." It could be absolutely anything. But for those who are experienced, who have this ability to hear these sounds with their own ears, if they have any experience whatsoever outside the wilderness, this is something that scares you. And it puts absolute chills all over your body and your back, and you can't lose it. And you never forget the sound.
Let me play this audio again from Ontario. Here's what was recorded back on early October. Now, our friends at Global News spoke with Jolanta Kowalski. She's a spokesperson for Ontario's Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. She says, "Our biologists say it could be a larger mammal, for example, a wolf, but because a considerable distance from the recorder, there is no way to be certain." And it's just fascinating that, they're trying to figure out, inside their ministry, okay, what's this guy recorded? What is that sound? Because look, we don't know it. We don't know everything that lives in the forest, do we? There are things that go bump in the night that frighten us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when you delve into the paranormal, And that's an umbrella term for everything, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's Dogman that's running around the forest. Yeah, that's a whole different topic we'll have another night. All right, UFOs, aliens, ghosts. When you're dealing with the unknown, it's that fear factor that makes you go in, but it's that fear factor that makes you get the hell out as quickly as possible, because you don't want to be a part of anything that is going to make you one heck of a good story. You know, that natural human instinct to get out absolutely overcomes you.
Are there people in your circle of paranormal investigators and Bigfoot hunters that when they hear those noises, they're more likely to walk towards them instead of away from them? There must be.
You know, I can honestly tell you, if I heard that again, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Because I've had that sighting. All right. I was within 100 feet of 2 Sasquatch in Mission. And the one I got a perfect right profile and back profile view about 75 feet away from me, 85 feet maybe. And I want to know. So if I hear that, I'm going for it. Absolutely. Wow. Now, I'm definitely carrying my buddies with me because I don't have a gun license and they do. All right. Yeah. I'm definitely carrying that with me, but you have to go. You have to go. I mean, how many, to speak silly here, how often do you get a chance to be killed by Sasquatch? Why not go for it? That's the perfect death if you're into something like we are here.
You'd be front page news. So I guess it's just that inherent feeling of always wanting to know, just having to know and wanting to know. You know, it's kind of like the car crash analogy. It's like a car crash because we when we see something on the road, we slow down and we look at it and we cause traffic to back up because
Absolutely.
we're so interested in the unknown and knowing a little bit more. Hey, Dave, I got to run, but I appreciate
Absolutely.
you weighing in and letting our listeners know. Likely what those sounds could be. I'll let you get back to your radio show, man, and let's hook up again next week, all right?
Absolutely,
thanks,
my friend, and with another cool topic. Good night.
There you go. Dave Scott.
On the Spaced Out Radio side, we are going right to the thought of the Dave. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air. Why? Because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows, as I seem to have lost it on my own page here. My goodness. Talk about being inept here. All right. How much do you think the United States military branches actually know about UFOs? Let's get to it, shall we? Tim, like everything in the government, all compartmentalized within the departments. William, my position is that the U.S. military has been interested in and aware of the UFO phenomena since the Foo Fighters were first reported in the European and Pacific theaters during World War II. I also don't think they have any definitive answers concerning what is going on or who or what the ultimate source of the UFO enigma is. Edwin, the United States Air Force knows a lot. Jade, I suppose it would depend on which branch. My father was in military for most of his life and up in the higher officer ranks for a few years before he retired. When asked about UFOs, he responded that he has never seen one and that it wasn't part of what he was doing, or was it? And he couldn't say. Have often heard, like Tim is saying, that was compartmentalized and information is on a need-to-know basis. James, a few came across my desk while I was in the Navy. Oh, that's interesting. Chris, apparently not as much as Paul Hellyer in Canada. Yeah, go figure. Try getting information out of here. John, as much as we do, except for a very specific part of the Air Force and Navy, I think many people know something. It's like having a 1,000-piece puzzle of a picture you don't understand. You give one puzzle piece to 1,000 people? Sure. The answers are literally in their hands, but everyone would have to speak up at once for us to fully understand and get it. Catherine, nothing. I think I have an agreement, and the rest is just speculation by then and after the fact. Joanne believes it's quite a bit. Teresa believes every outlet of the United States military has their knowledge. Renee, I don't think they know a lot. I think the private sector at Area 51 knows a lot more than anyone else. Just look at Storm Area 51. The Army had to go out and warn people. I think they have lost control of Area 51, sadly, to private sectors. David, compartmentalization programs within Air Force and Naval Intelligence know a great deal about specifics. Due to the nature of compartmentalization, I hate that word, by the way, no one has the whole picture. Michelle, they may not know as much as the core group that oversees the secrecy and has access to the hardware. That's true. Robert believes everybody knows everything if you're in the higher-ups of the military. Charles, I think the military knows as much as me. 0. Sherry, former Marine Kyle Oden killed a pastor, but said that he was a Martian. He had this whole manifesto where he felt it was his duty to protect citizens from the Martians. Who knows if it was true for him? I certainly didn't think he was insane. And blow it off. Karen gets a final word on this. Not many peeps know very much. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe we know, maybe we don't. I'm sure there's some out there that really, really do have the answers. Hopefully, our guests tonight, Tim McMillan and MJ Banias, can help solve some of those riddles for some of us who are wondering. Remember, they write for Vice and Popular Mechanics magazine, so you can check out their work all the time there on the UFO subject. I highly suggest you do. Very talented writers, both of them. Big thanks to everybody also for taking part in today's Thought of the Dave. We'll do it all again tomorrow on Twitter and on Facebook, so make sure you check it on out. You might get yours read on the air. Also, thanks, Captain Shirk, for giving me the night off on the news to continue with Tim and MJ. She actually messaged me. She's like, skip the news. Keep this up. This is good stuff. So I did. Thank you, Captain Shirk. But you can find all of the Captain's news at spacedoutradio.com in the SOR Newswire. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, in our chat rooms, on LGAB, Spreaker, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by SOR Media Ventures and Spaced Out Radio, so don't use it. You don't have permission. Well, unless we give you permission. I want to say a big thanks for all of you for tuning on in. Big thanks to Drex at The Shift with Drex for bringing us on, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to bring us home. Have a good night, everybody. Merle and Ghosts of the Great White North is up tomorrow night. We've got an interesting show, so tune on in. Have a good night.